Will, do we need to do a preamble?
Never.
Okay, hit the intro.
The best bits.
I'll use small words that you'll be sure to understand, you warthog-faced buffoon.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
You are stupid, you have no taste, a lousy sense of humor, and you smell.
Don't call me stupid.
Hello, and welcome to The Best Bits, a movie podcast where we pick our favourite scenes from randomly selected, weirdly specific themes. This is co-host Will, a writer of 3 films plus a Star Wars, joined once again by my co-host, writer of 1 and a bit films and 3 and a bit episodes of TV, and permanent anti-hero, Kevin.
You talking to me, punk?
I am, yeah, how are you?
I'm grand. Hand shot first. That's my take.
Of course, hand shot first. Guido just like Guido had a gun pointed at him the whole time, and the fact that hand shot first made him a better anti-hero.
Well, I gotta tell you, right, when we got this topic, I thought to myself, listen, I'm anti a lot of things. I'm anti-apartheid, I'm anti-social, I'm anti-fa, but I'm not anti-hero. I'm actually pro-hero. Yes! I don't know what I'm gonna do on this topic.
I'm anti-hero.
You're anti-hero.
I'm anti-hero. I'm not pro-hero, I'm anti-hero. So this is perfect. This is a great table setting for this particular topic.
Well, one of my favourite cinematic icons is Superman, and you can't get any more pro-hero than that.
100%.
So let me ask you, is Indiana Jones then an anti-hero?
I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
Yeah, he's a little bit. He does embody some anti-hero qualities, that's for sure. He's definitely goal-orientated. Deckard is definitely an anti-hero.
Replicants are like any other machine. They're either a benefit or a hazard. If they're a benefit, it's not my problem.
Definitely anti-hero. I don't know if Indiana Jones is. Yeah, I think he's muddied. So I think he's erring on the side of like slightly more anti-hero than hero.
Well,
we're getting into this topic really fast, which is great. I love it. Let's keep going.
Like, what else are we going to do? We don't want to be sitting around here like singing fucking songs. We'll have more people cancelled on the podcast. Will, describe for me what an anti-hero is, because I have my take, but I want to know what your take is. I said when we got the topic that I would consider generally an anti-hero to be somebody with a chip on their shoulder. That's very reductive, but what is the real description for an anti-hero in your eyes?
For me, anti-heroes, basically, they're the heroes of their own narrative. Generally, I like to think of them as the main protagonist of a particular film. They lack some of the traditional traits of our classic heroes. So, for instance, you were bringing up Superman there. Superman is brave, he's strong, he's got a very, very robust moral compass, he's brimming with empathy. Anti-heroes can be lacking one of those qualities.
Looks like we're shy of one horse.
You brought too many.
I think anti-heroes are far more interesting. They reflect the normal world. Even though we like to think of ourselves as the heroes in our own narratives, we all are just the anti-heroes of our own narratives. We're all complex. We're all flawed. But I think anti-heroes are heroes that you understand. You kind of have to, the audience has to kind of understand where they're coming from a little bit. Just a little bit. That's all you need.
Hand shot first was one of the ideas I had for this episode, where I thought, well, maybe that could be my pick. Maybe that'd be a funny pick. But then I thought, no, Will is probably going to pick that. Did you pick it?
No, but I would use it as an example if I had to compare or contrast a hero and an anti-hero.
Well, let's do it. Because I think that change ruined Han Solo. It completely diminished him as a character. Because
absolutely,
you have somebody who is ruthless. And a ruthless character is like a movie star for me. If they have a danger to them, they are eminently more watchable than somebody who you know is going to do the moral good thing all the time. Those kind of characters are almost like they're a safe pair of hands, but sometimes you want to be dragged along by somebody reckless and a loose cannon and a live wire.
For my dead body.
Yes, I bet you have.
I would say that anti-heroes are the people who do the things that we can't do, but we need them to do it. They make the sacrifice that we benefit from, and they lose the right to be part of the community by doing it. So it's a bittersweet ending. That's what I think of real anti-heroes. There's somebody who goes about doing the right thing the wrong way, and we enjoy them for doing it, but they've lost a part of their humanity in doing that.
That's interesting. They're far more interesting and entertaining protagonists to go on a journey with, because, as you said, they're doing this doing the stuff that we wish we could do.
Kill people.
Get out of here, you fucking bitch.
Yeah, or kill people, or commit crimes,
steal things,
or go on revenge vendettas, go on kill people, murder people.
It's like James Bond. He's a classic anti-hero.
I'm looking for Dr. Goodhead.
You just found her.
Yeah, he's got a dubious moral compass.
A woman?
Going back, anti-heroes have been in literature and storytelling for generations.
Jesus.
The Prince of War.
The ultimate. Did you say Jesus? Right?
I did.
Do you know, in my research for this, I found something interesting. There was a reference to a pastor, right? This guy, he was a missionary.
Louis?
And he went out, no, not Louis, but he went out to this really remote community in one of the Asian islands. I'm muddling this, but I'm paraphrasing it basically. And he went out there to convert them, and he recorded the whole process, right? So his mission was to go out there and tell them the story of Jesus and introduce them to this narrative. But when he was telling them the story of Jesus, the character that the community, that the tribe loved and thought was the main protagonist wasn't Jesus. It was Judas. They thought Judas was the guy. He was like going, Judas had the right idea. It's because their culture had recognized and admired dubious people or sneakiness and backstabbing and stuff like that.
Because they were listening to a story. So they were like, I prefer the anti-hero. I like the guy who had to make the moral decision there. Yeah, and he decided to sell him out. Here's a question for you. What's Jesus' surname?
Jesus Christ.
Oh my God. Jesus, is he not one of the... He's one of the O'Sullivans. They were originally Jesus O'Sullivan from... I'm pretty sure it was Jesus O'Sullivan.
I'll tell you this. His surname's not Christ. It's not Jesus Christ. There are some people out there who think that Jesus' last name is Christ. So it's Mary Christ, Joseph Christ, and their little boy Jesus Christ. No, it's Jesus of Nazareth. And here's another one for you. Leonardo da Vinci. Da Vinci's not a surname. It's where he's from. Yeah, he was Leonardo from Da Vinci.
Awesome. You're talking about Leonardo's.
I am.
One of the big...
DiCaprio. He's from DiCaprio.
He's from DiCaprio, so you know. He's one of Leonardo's from DiCaprio. Is he Da Vinci? No, not from Da Vinci, the one from DiCaprio. He's played a couple of brilliant anti-hero characters in a few films.
Romeo.
Absolutely Romeo. And The Wolf of Wall Street.
Absolutely. Jordan Belfort, one of the scummiest people to ever walk the face of the earth.
My fucking warriors who will not hang up the phone until their client either buys or fucking die!
But look at that film as an example of a satisfying and indulgent and entertaining thrill ride. But as he goes through and develops his schemes as a scam artist, there's an indulgence. There's that vicarious indulgence you get from that.
But here's the question for you, right? This is where it gets tricky, and you have to be really confident as a filmmaker to be able to stick to your guns and know why you're telling the story and how to tell the story. There's a real razor's edge between glorifying bad behavior and reveling in the destruction of somebody who's perpetrating immoral acts. So it's like... And I feel like some films get the mix wrong and you feel icky watching it. It's like the Death Wish films where you feel like, this is just masturbatory. This is like, let's kill as many people as possible and let's create some sort of really deplorable act in Act 1 to have happened to the character, fridging his wife or having some innocent ingenue raped or killed or whatever, so that they can go all out. They can go full Mel Gibson and just be despicable and be a real nasty piece of shit. And I don't feel that that's not enjoyable for me. I don't enjoy those kind of films. And I know some people get a sick, perverted...
God, you fucker.
I'm not saying that they're sick or perverts for enjoying it, but they get a sort of perverted thrill. You're
casting judgments. You're casting
Fuck them all.
Yeah.
Fuck you for listening to this.
Heathens. Heathens, go and wash yourselves out with chlorine. Go
back and watch Superman the movie and fucking go to mass. But, it's like... But Scorsese in that, he manages to ride the line between you enjoying somebody that you know is going to get their comeuppance.
Yeah.
So it's fun to see somebody fly too close to the sun like that. But it is an interesting thing between what is an anti-hero and what is just a despicable prick.
There's a gradient, right? Robin Hood is an anti-hero.
Steal from the rich, give to the poor.
We're men in tights.
Yeah, he's a criminal. But Robin Hood is noble. He's helping out people who have less than him. But he's the lesser of the bad guys in that story. But on the other end of the spectrum, we have the Patrick Batons, right? Real proper sociopathic psychopaths.
He's also an anti-hero. I mean, he's killing yuppies.
He's killing yuppies. Give to the rich.
He's killing Jared Leto. Or did he? We don't know.
Or did he?
Yeah.
And at the end of like American Psycho, what do the filmmakers want you to take away? What's the moral fucking lesson that they're actually trying to tell at the end of the story? And quite often you can boil it down to quite biblical and simplistic terms like, greed is bad, as long as
greed is good. If you're watching Wall Street.
Greed clarifies, cuts through, and captures the essence of the evolutionary spirit. Greed in all of its forms. Greed for life, for money, for love, knowledge, has marked the upward surge of mankind, and greed, you mark my words, will not only save Teldar paper, but that other malfunctioning corporation called the USA.
Well, no, that's what Gordon Gekko says in that. He says greed
But here's
is
the
good.
thing, then there are the people that watch films and they take away the wrong message from it. Like
they
the
take
people
away the wrong
that
message.
watch Scarface and think, I want to be like Tony Montoya.
You want to play games? Okay. How can I win? Say hello to my little friend!
Yeah. Or like, and in Wall Street, the amount of people who looked at Wall Street and go, oh my God, I want like Wall Street. I want to be Gordon Gekko. That's exactly what I want to be. So unfortunately, that does happen where you have people who take away because of their own leanings. They don't at all read the filmmaker's intentions or the screenwriter's intentions. They just read into the film, what they themselves are predisposed to read into it, which is, it's their fault.
We're in an era now where people are getting very, very, and this could just be the film Twitterati set and the people that are chronically online who have to have a take on everything. And they will pull apart every single film and feel like this is glorifying that, and this character is not just a villain in a traditional sense. They are somehow, they shouldn't exist. They shouldn't be that. We shouldn't see this. We shouldn't be telling stories about these people because they're immoral. And yeah, it gets tiring because we tell those stories to pass on knowledge to one another, and we do it in an entertaining way. So we're around the campfire and we're telling each other scary stories about the predator in the woods.
God, you fucker.
Or just to alleviate the stress of life as we know it. So if we can't poke fun at the things which we know to be inherent truths, then what are we doing? Like, what's the point of telling stories? We have to be able to use all the crayons in the toolbox. Mixing all my metaphors here. But you know what I mean? It's like we're getting to a point where we're getting so sensitive that we would have a problem with Bonnie and Clyde because they are crooks and the movie's making them out to be cool.
How you? This here's Miss Bonnie Parker.
Glad to meet you.
I'm Clyde Barron.
Right.
We rob banks.
Absolutely.
And, you can have really playful and fun anti-heroes like Judge Dredd or RoboCop, but some anti-heroes, they force you to sit in the uncomfortableness of relating to somebody who you didn't understand before. So you're taken on a journey with a story, you're put in the shoes of somebody, and as you said before, if you're not given anyone to root for, you will latch on to the person who's taking up the most space. and you will try to understand them. And if they're fascinating, all the more enticing it is. And sometimes you can find yourself rooting for them to get away with the crime because you like them for all the idiosyncrasies about their personality and the quirks of who they are. And I think that is enhancing the human experience because you realize how grey situations are. And sometimes, some of the most wicked and evil people, they got away with it because they were really nice guys.
Mm. And that is the case with James Mason's character in Lolita.
Come here, Lolita. Sit down there. That's a good girl.
That's him. Utterly charming. He's very sophisticated. He's smooth. He's attractive. You enjoy spending time in his company, and being in his orbit is kind of fascinating because he has this dilemma, and you kind of want to see how it plays out, how it goes.
Should he sexually assault the child or shouldn't he?
No, it's not should he. It's not. It's never should he. Right? It's never should he. It's like, let's see how this car crash plays out.
Yeah,
and I want to see how does this thing resolve? What actually fucking happens here? And it does. I'm sure a lot of you haven't watched Lolita. If you haven't, it's worth a watch.
Can I tell you one of my favorite anti-hero films? But this is a real black-hearted anti-hero to the point where I don't root for him at all, but I find the filmmaking and the film itself fucking fantastic. It's such an excellent watch. And it's the Joel Schumacher film Falling Down.
Bill Foster is an ordinary man.
Where you going?
Going home.
Not this way, you're not.
Why not?
Metro rail construction, that's why not.
Living in the everyday world.
I don't suppose you have a couple of bucks you can give me. It would really help me out. If you give me your address, I'll mail it back, honest.
A patient man.
Can I help you?
Yes, I'd like a ham and cheese omelet, wham fries.
I'm sorry.
We stopped serving breakfast at 11:30.
Who's running out of patience.
I get some change for the phone.
A peaceful man.
No change. I have to buy something.
Who's about to be pushed.
85 cents. 85 cents.
Doesn't give me enough money for the phone call.
Drink. 85 cents. You pay or go.
A little too far.
I stay.
You mean you stole your baseball bat, but he paid for the soda?
Just standing up for my rights. As a consumer.
Oh, this guy's discriminating.
What kind of vigilante are you?
Oh, of course. Yeah. That's a really
Defends, where Michael Douglas plays a character who feels like he's just been ripped from today's cultural landscape. Yeah. He would be a MAGA guy. If the film took place today, he'd be wearing a red baseball cap.
Yeah.
And he snaps. And he goes around LA killing immigrants, getting rid of people that he feels are pests, and just doing really violent, despicable things. And it's never that you root for him, but you are sort of fascinated to see where this goes, how this wraps up, because you're following someone who is a cultural terminator. He's here to basically inflict violence and death upon those that he disagrees with.
The story of an everyday guy who refused to take it one more day.
So we got a nutcase with a bag full of guns. He's in Hollywood right now, and he's heading west.
I don't know if you've noticed or not, but there's other people waiting to use the phone here.
Now, if you go up against this guy, be careful.
It was quite problematic at the time, but now I feel like if you made that film today, it would almost be like the way that people were originally talking about the Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, where they were saying this film is so dangerous, I'm really scared that it's going to incite an incel riot, that people are going to look to this and they're going to take inspiration from it, and it was all hyperbole and stupid. But I do feel that Falling Down would be too obnoxious for people to swallow today.
Yeah, he felt...
And I don't know if that's a failing on where we've become, and that our literacy as film viewers has fallen. But I think it's a fantastic film, and it's one that I want to recommend on this topic, even though I don't know if Defense would be an anti-hero. In fact, I certainly is not. He's just a pure antagonist.
I think he's an anti-hero. I do think he's an anti-hero because you kind of... The film gives you his point of view. We are seeing how angry he is, why he takes vengeance on the various people he does along the way, where, the film gives us his justification for his actions. Not justifying it, but just his justifications.
And the film feels like it's so far ahead of its time, but the hero of the story, the person who's the antagonist, like some people will get the terms confused where I think protagonist means good guy and antagonist means bad guy, but it just means the protagonist is the person who is pushing the story forward and the antagonist is the one who's pushing back. So
Yes.
you can have it flipped, where you can have like Michael Douglas, who's clearly the villain and he's the protagonist, and the antagonist to him is Robert Duvall, who's clearly the good guy, but he's a cock.
There were so many little things that you brought up there that I was like going, oh, chase that rabbit, chase this rabbit. You brought up The Joker, which is, the highest grossing R-rated movie ever. It's
You say that, but can I interject and tell you that the highest grossing...
It's probably going to be... Go on.
It's Deadpool and Wolverine. It's just smashed all records. Just came out there and it made 400 million in its opening weekend globally.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Deadpool, of course, is an anti-hero.
You look ridiculous. People have waited decades for this fight. It's not going to be easy. Baby knife, you shoot the double, you take him down. Side control, then full mount, and you ground and pound till he makes no sound because he's dead.
Shut the fuck up.
Oh my God. Okay, good luck. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah, and Wolverine is an anti-hero as well. Another one of the little offshoots you mentioned right there that it sprung in my brain was Dirty Harry.
I know what you're thinking, punk. You're thinking, did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Now, to tell you the truth, I forgot myself in all this excitement. But being this is a 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and will blow your head clean off, you've got to ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Which is a film I watched in preparation for this. A film I'd never seen.
Which one?
The very first one. The original,
Okay.
Dirty Harry. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it, right? And I was also quite surprised how... I wish I'd actually watched it before we did our Lethal Weapon commentary, because I realized, oh my God, Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapon commentary is available on our Patreon.
The shame
People who have listened to it have immensely enjoyed it. So come on over. And in it, some of the beats or some of the set pieces that happen, I recognize them in other films that went after it, like Lethal Weapon. Oh my God, is such a kind of pays so much homage to Dirty Harry. Speed, I feel, is homages Dirty Harry in certain ways. But Harry Callahan himself,
Urban gunslinger movies.
They're urban, yeah, it's a gunslinger movie. And Harry Callahan is absolutely a classic anti-hero. He doesn't give a shit about anyone. He hates every sort of race out there. He hates any type of all different various types of religions. And he's just mean and nasty. And
he's a right-wing hero.
Very much. And the only kind of justification that's given for why he is the way he is the same as Riggs in Lethal Weapon, is that his wife was killed. His wife was killed. And ever since
you want to justify a bastard, you've got to give him some sort of pain in his backstory.
Yeah.
He's not getting any, so he's a bastard.
He hate everyone. And that's what I am.
But don't you find that
prick?
That kind of, when you look at it now, especially the 80s cop movies, all cops are bastards. Like in those films, when we watched Lethal Weapon, it was a case of, my God, they're quite trigger happy here. They will just blast and shoot everyone who gives them any jip that they are. It ends with them almost arm in arm, both killing the guy together. They both take the kill shot, and it's it's silly, but really, truly, these people are not someone that you could ever trust around your kids, or especially to walk your dog, because they might just gun them down if the dog barks at them. They are lunatics.
But this is a part of my point, right? We in our human daily lives, we hate drama. What we want peace and normality and no drama. But we are hounds for drama. we consume and absorb drama stories, right? It is, if we heard about a car crash happening down the road, it's just like, give me all the details, tell me everything.
Yeah.
And that is the same for characters. We don't want to watch entertainment that have dull, bland, boring characters at the center of them. We are far more interested in dark, twisted psychopaths that we would never dream of fucking, spending more than 2 seconds with in real life.
You don't want to live in a Tarantino movie, but you do want to watch a Tarantino movie.
Absolutely. I want to live there vicariously so I can switch off, so I can just
Yeah.
go, bloop, I'm away, I'm back. I indulged. I went on that little road trip down the into the avenue of crime and drugs.
But all his films are basically anti-hero stories.
Absolutely, yeah.
You ever listen to K. Billy's Super Sounds of the 70s?
Jackie Brown's an anti-hero. The Bride in Kill Bill is an anti-hero.
Inglourious Bastards.
They're
Pulp
brimming
Fiction.
with them.
They're both hitmen. They kill kids in that film.
Yeah. Reservoir Dogs. Jesus, yeah, the whole lot of them. The only one just in my head I was questioning about was Django Unchained. And I still think because he's a vigilante. He ends up becoming a vigilante, which turns vigilante into an anti-hero type of
Yeah, he's
character.
probably not an anti-hero. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? No.
Yes, I think so.
Leonardo DiCaprio's not an anti-hero in that.
I think he's...
Although Brad Pitt's character, you don't know whether he killed his wife in the past.
Yeah, he's got this dubious moral...
But that's played for humor. That's like... that's Tarantino almost commenting on the fact that it was a time where some of the people that were working in the business, they were odd characters and you didn't really know too much about their backstory, and it could be conceivable that guy could have killed his wife and nobody knew about it. And there was lots of movie stars out there who, had that hanging over them where it was like, did he kill his wife? Or did she just happen to drown in the pool?
That question is fascinating. It is quite interesting. And you bring up Tarantino there because he grew up. We both have read that book. What's his book about his history of cinema? Was it
Cinema Speculation?
That's the one. So Tarantino's book, Cinema Speculation, has inspired me to go and watch an awful lot of films that he was watching when he was going to the cinema. The era of the 70s, anti-heroes were everywhere. And you kind of have to look. I love looking at the cinema history and real world history parallels. And there are bumps when anti-heroes become much more popular in zeitgeist, and they happen after wars. So like after World War II, we had film noir, a kind of like a
Match Me,
boom
Sydney.
Yeah. So we had, Sam Spade, we had Double Indemnity, all those movies. And then post World War II and all of the counterculture revolution of the 1960s, we have the cinema of the 70s where we have films like Joe with Peter Boyle. We have Rolling Thunder, which was directed by John Flynn, written by Paul Schrader, Taxi Driver, Dirty Harry, a whole dearth of these anti-hero. Raging Bull, of course. It's just brimming with these type of characters. And obviously those are the films that inspired Tarantino, and he went on to populate his films with these troublesome leading characters in themselves. And I think you see it again now. I think we're getting... We post Iraq War, post 2008, Afghanistan and all that. We did get our Jordan Belfords. We got our Nightcrawlers. We got
Nightcrawler. That's a great one.
I'm Lou Bloom. I have some footage for sale.
So I'm now trying to figure out whether I would class him as an anti-hero.
I think he's an anti-hero because we're with him throughout that journey. I think he's on the very, very dangerous side of it.
I guess though, but with an anti-hero, aren't you rooting for them to succeed?
Well, this is not necessarily.
So what do you say? Do you have a deal?
You're not necessarily rooting for them to succeed. Like with Jordan Belfort, I'm not rooting for Jordan Belfort to succeed. I'm with him on the ride.
Okay, so not to switch up on you, but an awful lot of TV has anti-heroes. It's surprising to me how many of the great TV shows were hung on an anti-hero character. Breaking Bad, The Americans, Game of Thrones, Sopranos, House of Cards, Always Sunny, when it comes to comedy. Curb Your Enthusiasm,
Mad Men,
Dexter, The Boys, Ozark, Fleabag, one of the rare female anti-heroes. But recently, watching Ripley, which that really feels like an anti-hero. And when we were talking about that on the mini bits, which is available on our Patreon, you can subscribe at it's a low thing.
Come on over.
But I was saying to you that it was that thing of you're rooting for him to get away with it because not because you're supporting a sociopath.
Yeah.
But it I don't know, there's an inherent tension of like, oh, you don't get caught, because if you get caught, it's going to be too stressful for me to watch. So you're rooting for them almost in a way that where you put yourself in their shoes and think, what would I do if I just bludgeoned somebody with an ashtray? How am I going to get rid of the body? And you become tense on their behalf.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the psycho effect, as I say. Like, you brought up before, once Marion Crane is killed, you start to side with the killer.
You do, but I don't. I do. I've always felt emotionally dead when it comes to Psycho after Marion Crane is killed off, because she was an anti-hero to begin with. She was already somebody who'd done something morally dubious. She had stolen the money to try and make a better life for herself. She realised that she was in a dead-end relationship and she'd fucked off to try and start over. And then, she gets, kind of punished for it. And then we have to start over emotionally, and I always just felt like, I don't like this. I was with Marion, and I just couldn't switch over. My allegiance wouldn't side with him or with the sister.
Well, that's exactly. I agree with you. I have no attachment to detective and the sister, or the sister and her boyfriend. But Norman Bates, I did, because Norman Bates was immediately faced with a problem, and the problem was, I need to get rid of this body. And he puts the body in the trunk, and he's like trying to sink the car in a lake or whatever it is. And he watches as the car kind of goes down halfway and just stops.
And it didn't fully sink. And you were like, oh God, quick.
You're shit. It's the Ripley effect. It's like, fuck, get away with it. So I think we, as an audience, we just latch on to anyone who's got a problem.
Have you ever been the anti-hero in life? Have you ever been like cheating on a test? Did you ever cheat on a test?
Oh God, did I ever cheat? I tried many fucking times, I'd say.
Did you ever shoplift?
Oh, when I was a kid, we had a club for a couple of days called the Bad Club. It wasn't started by me. And to be in the Bad Club,
you had to do something bad.
Steal something. You had to steal something.
Oh.
Once a day. It was like
once a day? My God, that's a career criminal. Fucking hell. What were you stealing?
I got 4 cars. I had 4 cars.
I remember me and my friend David Murphy, we stole the Jurassic Park action figures from Dunn's. And we thought we were very clever, right? We thought we had it made. In fact, no, I started it, and I said to him, listen, I stole this in Dunn's, and let me show you how to do it. It's great. It's brilliant. And of course, I flew too close to the sun. So we went in, and you would take the toys off. Not like me at all. It all worked out in the end. I mean, look at me. And you'd sort of like, you'd sneak and go around to the other part of the store where there were less people around, and you'd open the toy, and you'd slip it out. You get the toy in your pocket, and you put the box under the shelf, so it'd be out of the way. And of course, me with my 11-year-old brain thinking, or 12, how old was I? When was Jurassic Park? Thinking nobody's going to find that because it's under the earring aisle or the stockings aisle or whatever. The cleaners will go around and they'll find like there's 2 Jurassic Park empty boxes there. Somebody stole them. So we went in the next day to try and complete the set.
Oh no.
And I still remember the absolute terror of being halfway in the process of trying to get one of the action figures out, little dinosaurs, and just getting grabbed on the elbow by this guy who was like double my height. And he said, put that back. And he took us into the back room, and I burst into tears, obviously. And my friend was like completely stoic about the whole thing. And I thought, juvenile record, going away, all this kind of stuff.
Your friend was like, tell him nothing, Kevin, tell him nothing.
And what I found funny is that he was kind of amused by the thing, that I was like shitting myself.
Wow.
And he said he wasn't going to call our parents, but what we had to do was bring the stuff back. And so the next day I'd stolen like 3 toys, I think. And I brought them back, and I went up to the customer service desk, and I was banned from going into Dunn's. And I was terrified for years and years afterwards of like, ever going to Duns. If my mom was in the shopping or my aunt was like in there, I was like, I can't show my face in Duns. They know me in there. I'm barred. But yeah, that was my anti-hero story. Imagine if it all went my way, I could have become a career criminal if I didn't get caught right then.
Would have been Don Kev. Did we call him Kevin DeCarco?
Yeah. I mean, they call me that already, but you know.
Kevin DeCarco.
Anyway.
But that ended that. We both flew too close to the sun. I got caught with...
How did you get caught?
I didn't get caught.
Oh, right. So you're still at it?
I stripped the cars and sold them for scrap. Oh, right. No one ever found anything.
These were dinky cars, obviously.
No, these were like one was a Starlet, another was a Mazda 323, and another was an actual Cork's only limousine. Imagine that. Incredible.
My God. Yeah. There you go. The more you learn.
Yeah. Hey, anti-heroes, right? I love them.
And there you go. Thanks for listening, everyone.
No, we're not done. One of literature's most famous characters is an anti-hero. And of course, he's Hamlet.
Batman. All right.
Hamlet is an anti-hero. Like, you know, he's absolutely anti. The thing about Hamlet is he hums and haws. He doesn't really know what he's going to do. He's kind of like, he's pulling his hair out.
What Hamlet movie are you talking about?
I'm Hamlet the Hamlet, right? The story
of
Hamlet.
Hamlet movie?
Hey, do you want to know what Hamlet movie? The Northman. That's what Hamlet movie I'm talking about.
There you go. Okay. He's somebody that I wouldn't like to hang out with.
Yeah. So all you have to do with the Northman is take the character's name, and that is Chris, whatever his name is. What's the name of that? The guy
Northman.
Who plays okay, Chris Northman, right? So Chris Northman's character's name is called Amleth. And as I was watching the film, I heard him being called Amleth the whole time. Amleth. And I was watching the film and I was thinking, this plot's really similar to Hamlet. And then I just went, oh shit, take the H at the end of his name and put it at the front and you've got, oh my God, it all fell into place. So the Northman is essentially Hamlet, you know, and he's a classic anti-hero. He's a bit of a dickhead. He's thinking, his moral compass is all over the place. There's a bit of ickiness about him and his mom. And he's ultimately, is it a happy ending? I don't know. I don't think so. So yeah, there you go. One of the most famous characters in literature and storytelling over the last 500 years, 700 years is an anti-hero.
And of course, you've got Lady Macbeth.
Yes.
So that'll take me on to this topic. Why do you think there aren't that many lady anti-heroes?
A woman.
And do you think that femme fatales, you know, when they're leading up the story, like with Double Indemnity, whether they're an anti-hero? Because it's interesting. When I was like trying to do my list, I was realizing that there aren't that many anti-heroes. Recent ones that I could pick out and mention to you. Tar, obviously, that came out just recently with Cate Blanchett. She's not a very likable person, so therefore she would be an anti-hero. Young Adult with Charlize Theron.
Yeah.
Definitely an anti-hero. Promising Young Woman.
What, Black Swan? She's an anti-hero?
Yeah, she is.
Furiosa, would you consider Furiosa an anti-hero?
No, I would say she's a straight-up badass, just a straight-ahead hero. But then again, Mad Max is an anti-hero, isn't he?
Yeah, he's definitely an anti-hero. Like, you go back to the...
Okay, so explain that to me. How... because Mad Max to me is 100% a good guy. He's in a shitty, bad world. So he's a good guy. So by comparison, he's a good guy.
No, I don't think he's a classic hero. Because I think the classic hero has got a very honorable moral code.
They're selfless.
Who is selfless. Is more like the Superman thing. Whereas Mad Max is very much motivated with his own interests in mind. He's I'll help. I'll take that person from that I'll take that thing from that person because it helps me get to where I want to go.
Yeah, he would do something cruel if it serviced him, if it helped him. Which is why I think in Furiosa, the film, the sequel, the Mad Max standing guy, I can't remember what his name was Jack or something like that. The guy that she meets when she is on the run.
Later in the story. Yeah, I can't remember his character though. Yeah.
And he offers to train her. That one act of kindness feels seismic in that world because it's a world where there's no kindness really.
Yeah. And the only way you survive in that world is by being
ruthless,
an anti-hero. And do you know what was interesting? Because it got me thinking about what environment would a hero be really interesting, right? So a classic hero, the way I think like Superman's gotten a bit boring, right? That kind of
wash your fucking mouth.
I'm sorry, no, I don't mean Superman the movie, but as a character, right? But
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
Let me finish. I just want to throw this out there as a thought experiment.
Relitigate it. Go on.
But I want to play this out. This is something I'm just thinking of on the fly. It popped into my head and I didn't think about it that much earlier. And I went, would it be really interesting to have the classic hero, that noble character with a strong moral code, being brave, if they existed in a world full of complete and utter bastards, immoral, reprehensible cunts? Is that a much more interesting place to be that type of character? The contrast of having them in that kind of space.
It depends on how you'd approach that story, because you could end up making them into a figure of fun or ridicule because they are terminally good, that they would almost be viewed in the way that people use the expression, don't mistake my kindness for weakness. That a character like that would be seen as weak because they're kind. But I'm trying to think if that's been done. If there's any film where you've got like an inherently decent, good person in a dystopian world.
Yeah, something like that. Something to that effect. I wonder if it's let's
probably some.
Let's brainstorm it after the call. That's what we'll do.
Snake Plissken obviously is a classic anti-hero, and he had a scene that began the movie. Are you going to talk about it?
Yeah. No, but you just, because we're talking about female anti-heroes, and one, I actually did recall one that's on my pick, but we can get back to it.
The opening of Escape from New York had Snake Plissken committing a robbery with a partner, and I believe, and I'm going off memory now, and I haven't seen this in 10, 15 years, I think the partner gets caught and he leaves him behind.
Oh, yeah.
He goes back to help the partner and he gets caught. But there was something to do where it undercut the character, or there was an interesting opening prologue to how Snake Plissken got caught.
Hey, what's wrong, Snake?
Nobody's here.
Oh, come on, man. What are you worried about? We made it, baby!
Is this where they were in that really brightly lit kind of interior with escalators and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's like a subway. They're trying to get away.
Yeah. I actually, because I remember cutting that scene to like a season 1 episode topic, and I remember looking at
this
the scene a lot.
This is the thing. When I was trying to whittle down my list, I was realizing, I've already talked about that scene. I've already talked about this scene. I've already talked about that scene. So, yeah, I've got one that I want to mention, and the off chance that I didn't pick it as my pick, but I'm sure I did. The Assassins episode.
Okay. Do you want to hold it, or do you want to?
No, because I think this is my pick in the Assassins episode, and that was Michael Corleone when he kills Sollozzo, and he crosses the Rubicon, and he goes from a reticent good guy to now doing something that he can never come back from. His soul has been stained, and he's now on the path of darkness. Yet we are rooting for him to do it. And we are nervous for him. But that's a classic moment of an anti-hero being born.
I was going to bring up particularly those first 2 Godfather films. Abso-fucking-lutely. As you were saying, it's the anti-hero being born. And we see that trajectory. And it ends with that tragic final shot of Diane
closing
Keaton
the door
looking
on
at her. Yeah, that's shot. And that continuing into the second film. But contrasting that, what is interesting in the second film when they do those split timelines of Michael's ascendancy intercut with Vito Corleone's...
The origin of his dad.
His beginnings. How we see how both their moral compasses are wired differently and have been corrupted by different means. The motivation. And we have kind of 2 different types of anti-heroes right there at play. We have Michael's, who has been fully corrupted. He's just thinking of himself. He's the value of blood and family ties is almost disregarded because he was given the job by his dad almost to be Michael's position was supposed to be the politician. Michael was supposed to legitimize the family.
Diplomat.
This is the beginning. The diplomat. And he now is kind of doing everything he can to achieve that goal, but becoming more and more ruthless along the way. Versus Vito.
It's interesting though in the second one where Mario Puzo, who wrote the book, which that book is not that great. I read it on holiday about 20 years ago, and it was a similar thing with like reading the Jaws book and reading the Jurassic Park book and realizing the adaptations were so much better than the books themselves. But Puzo did disagree with Coppola when he wanted to have Michael kill Fredo. And he said he would never do that. He would never, ever, ever do that. And he was like, I need him to do it. And he acquiesced by saying, okay, but he cannot do it while the mother is alive. Coppola was like, actually, that's great. That works for me. So, yeah, that was where he really truly descended into the dark side. He became the devil at that point. That was the final nail in the coffin where he killed his own brother.
Yeah, it's really powerful. And like I was saying there, to contrast that with Vito, who was doing everything to build his family and just trying and doing things for the community. And there's a selflessness in some of the actions that Vito does. Which brilliantly contrasts that.
Yeah, again, I feel like an anti-hero needs to be up against somebody who's even more despicable than they are, so that when they kill people, you can justify it in your head by going, yeah, but it's a Dexter thing. He will kill people, but he's killing other killers. Mm-hmm. So it's okay. Yeah. So Michael or Don Vito, killing other Dons who were ripping off the community. Mm-hmm. That was somebody that had to be taken out, and it took somebody like Vito to be able to do it. So again, it's the thing what I was saying. It's like it's the hero that you need, not the hero that you want.
Yeah, that works, and you're rooting for him. You're rooting for him to achieve that goal. I just want to throw it in there because we were talking about female anti-heroes, and one that is very much almost on the Patrick Bateman spectrum is the Monster. The Charlize Theron Oscar.
I've never seen that film.
She's definitely an anti-hero, almost. It's a really powerful, tough watch of a film based on a true story about Eileen Wuornos, who was a serial killer. But the film tells her life story in a way that you see her origin story. You were with her through her origin story, and you understand.
It's a Thelma and Louise thing.
Not as much fun though. Not as much sexy Brad Pitt.
No, they all die at the end. So yeah,
they all die in the end. Yeah, they all die in the end. But they're anti-heroes. They're as Thelma and Louise are anti-heroes. They absolutely are. They're on the run. They've killed a guy. Shit's gone down, and they become criminals. They're absolutely anti-heroes. Definitely.
Kevin Spacey in American Beauty, he'd be an anti-hero. Well, you go back and look at that film, though, that midlife crisis where he blew up his own family.
Yes.
It's like, that's quite a despicable way to get your rocks off.
Yeah. There's one big, huge name because we're talking about, all these characters, and these characters are born in the minds of writers. There's one writer who has spent most of his career writing anti-hero stories. And we have to mention it because one of the most iconic, or several of the most iconic.
Are you talking about screenwriter, or novelist?
Screenwriters, yeah. Screenwriter.
Maybe you're going to talk about my pick then.
Okay. Am I going to...
Does he have three names?
No.
Okay.
Got two names.
Go ahead.
It's Paul Schrader.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, true. Because Paul Schrader himself is an anti-hero. If you follow him on social media, the fucker has a problem with everything. Yeah. He really is a real malcontent. And I kind of love him for it. I love that he would just come straight out there and he will shit all over the latest releases and not give a single fuck.
Yeah. I have had only one awkward interaction with Paul Schrader, which I'm sure I've spoken about on the podcast before. I don't know. Did I ever talk about the time I met Paul Schrader on the street in Galway?
You did, but I cannot remember the details.
It was a very brief interaction I had with Paul Schrader, and this is nearly 20 years ago now. But Galway, if anyone's familiar with Galway is a very, very old city that is it's quite labyrinthine, because it's just there's streets cutting in this way and that way and all that sort of stuff. And I was having a beer with a buddy outside a bar, as you do on Shop Street in Galway.
This was during your pisshead days.
This is my pisshead days, yeah. And Paul Schrader walked by. And I went, that's fucking Paul Schrader, because he was actually in town, I think, doing a masterclass. So I knew he was in town. I just couldn't believe that. I saw him because he's a small little man walking by. And he
so you were looking up at him.
Yeah, I was. Well, I was lying down getting the raise at the time, and he was walking by, and I was obviously gawking at him, and he saw me, and he said, "Hey," and I went hi to him. Maybe I might have actually said hello, and he says, "Hey," and I said, "How you doing?" He says,
"What?"
He said, "Can you tell me? Can you give me directions to the Crane Bar?" I think he was looking to go to the Crane, and immediately, if you ask anyone to give you directions in Galway, it's kind of like your brain has to go a million different directions, because you're like going, oh, you could go this way, that way, that way, that way. And as soon as he asked me, I went, oh shit, I got to get Paul Schrader to the Crane Bar. Okay, let me think about this. I put my hand to my mouth, as I tend to do when I'm thinking. And I started kind of going, okay, let me think about it like this. So as I'm doing right now, I just kind of went, okay, just a second now, like that. And as I was thinking it, he says, well, if you took your hand down from your mouth, maybe I could hear you a bit better. And I went, sorry?
That's quite forthright.
Says, if you put your hand down from your mouth, maybe I could hear a bit better. And I went, right.
Fuck off, then.
I was like, okay, right. Fuck you, fucking asshole. Like, he was really grumpy and a real curmudgeon about it, like, you know. But
that might have been the drink colouring your impression, though. I've had many of those things.
I don't think I was on the sauce for it. It was daylight anyway. But anyway, that was my. But I left going, oh my God, I just made grumpy Paul Schrader. That was so I thought it was so funny. It was so funny.
But like, but Taxi Driver, and I'm sure we've talked about it, the ending of Taxi Driver, where people think, is that glorifying violence at the end? Like, are you meant to feel triumphant in that moment?
Yeah.
Or are you meant to feel like this is grimy and grim and it's all ending in a paroxysm of awfulness?
Yeah, we spoke about this recently, definitely in a recent episode. I've obsessed with Taxi Driver quite a bit, and if it wasn't for the fact that I brought it up many times in the past, it probably would be my pick. I feel the ending of Taxi Driver, particularly in the final scene, is declaring its intent that, you know, we are dealing with a character who's got a very fractured psyche, a very damaged human being.
Well, I've only got two more that I really want to bring up. One is a film that I love, but I don't really know whether he's a true anti-hero. I know that he's a morally dubious character, but and the other one is going to be my pick. But the first one I can mention is Michael Clayton. I love that film. I think it's great.
Right.
And he is the guy who, as he proclaims in the movie, I'm not the guy that you eliminate. I'm the guy that you pay off. That he is someone who can be bought off. He's used to being a black bag man for bad guys, and that all he needs is for you to, like Judas, put some silver in his palm, pay him off, and that's all he needs. But they don't. They try to kill him. So then he finds a conscience, and he takes down Tilda Swinton in one of the great endings. Almost an ending that works like it dupes you, because you think they can't do that. It's too easy. And then they do it, and it's surprising for that reason, because you think they're going to do something more intricate, and he's just wearing a wire and he gets her. And I love that film, but it's not my pick.
Before you get your pick, maybe I'll just rattle off just the last couple of honorable mentions that I'll
do it. Go
there.
for it.
Like, I think I've already stated, I think anti-heroes provide for the most interesting characters. And as a result, you can create really entertaining, dramatically engaging stories if you've got an anti-hero at the center of your story. And so there are so many great films with anti-heroes at the center of them. One of these I've mentioned many times in the past in the podcast. It is one of my favorite go-to Spielberg films. I'll almost always watch it if it's on. I won't change the channel. It's Catch Me If You Can.
When we were talking through this episode, I was thinking to myself, because you were talking about the dark movies of the 70s. And I thought, that's interesting because Spielberg then came really to the fore the late 70s through the 80s, which would be his heyday, even though he made some amazing films in the 90s. But he's such an aspirational, bright, crowd-pleasing director that I was struggling to think, has he done any anti-hero movies? And I was thinking, well, there's Munich. And then, the conversation took me away from thinking about that. But there you go, Catch Me If You Can is a fantastic one.
Mm-hmm. Utterly so entertaining. It's the Ripley effect where you're with this criminal, this con man, as he goes on this fantastical fucking joyride, and he engineers it.
It's playful.
Something so it's very, very, very playful. But also in that film, you totally understand what's one of the big chips on his shoulders. Chips on his shoulder, which is the disintegration of his father's life and the dream that the father always wove for him, because his dad essentially was a con man as well. He was selling a fantasy, and that fantasy corrupted his son, and that went on to fuel him.
He was a dreamer.
Yeah, it's tragic.
Did you know that almost that entire story of the Catch Me If You Can character, I can't remember his name though, was bullshit? He made it all up. But it kind of works, because that's the story he's telling. He's telling the story of a con artist, a bullshit or a blackguard, and it ended up being that he was one himself, and he made half that shit up.
And I'm totally fine with that.
Me too. Spin me your tales. Just entertain me. That's all I care about. That's a fantastic one.
Yeah, it's not my pick though.
Well, I give you my pick.
Yeah.
So when you were talking about a writer that has trucked in anti-heroes before, I thought, maybe you're going to preempt my pick here, because we talked about Blade Runner, and Blade Runner was obviously written by David Webb Peoples, but he did another great anti-hero story, and it was a script that he wrote in the 80s that didn't get picked up for ages and ages and ages until Clint Eastwood got his hands on it. And it was his return to the Western and the gunslinger, and it was Unforgiven in 1992.
Step over to the office and get the bullwhip.
A whipping? That's all they get after what they've done? Get out of there!
It was a matter of honor.
They're paying $1,000 to whatever kills the two boys that cut up Delilah.
In a time when lawmen were killers.
What are y'all looking at?
You English, Bob? Outlaws were heroes.
Well, I thought that you were dead. Hell, I even thought I was dead. Till I found out it was just in Nebraska.
And a bad reputation.
You're the one who killed William Harvey and robbed that train over Missouri?
Was as good as gold.
My guess is you're calling yourself Mr. William Money.
Say what?
You don't look no meaner than hell, cold-blooded damn killer.
I ain't like that anymore, kid.
$1,000 reward, Will.
Nobody's gonna come.
So you still have that Spencer rifle, huh?
Yeah.
He's my partner. He don't go, I don't go.
What's it come to 3 ways?
Just because we're going on this killing, that don't mean I'm gonna go back to being the way I was.
Are you really gonna kill them cowboys?
I do not like assassins or men of low character.
We ain't bad men no more. We're farmers.
You're a lot of savages! A bunch of bloody savages! Assassins!
Oh, I guess they have it coming.
We all have it coming, Captain.
Some legends will never be forgotten. Some wrongs can never be forgiven.
Any man don't want to get killed. Better clear on out the back.
Unforgiven.
And I was going through thinking, well, that is a film that you have a character who has committed some awful atrocities in his past. He's killed, as Gene Hackman's character says, women and children. And he's like, yeah, I have. But he's brought out of retirement because of an act that's been perpetrated against these whores, these town whores, where one of them was scarred. And so the madam hires his services, and he comes face to face with one of the most despicable villains. And it's a film filled with those really horrible characters, like Richard Harris is in there, and it's just it seemed like a time when everybody was on the make. So it's like a Mad Max world, but it was the old world. And he comes out, he's nearing the end of his life. He has lost the few bright things in his life that gave him back his heart and his sense of self. And he is pulled back into hell by the devil himself. And it's the final scene after Morgan Freeman's character has met his end that he goes up against Gene Hackman and all his cronies, and he takes them all on, and it has some fantastic lines of dialogue.
Well, sir, you were a cowardly son of a bitch. You just shot an unarmed man.
Well, he should have armed himself. He's gonna decorate his saloon with my friend.
You'd be William Money out of Missouri. Killer of women and children.
That's right. I've killed women and children. Killed just about everything that walks or crawled at one time or another. And I'm here to kill you, Little Bill. For what you did to Ned. You boys better move away.
All right, gentlemen. He's got one barrel left. When he fires that, take out your pistols and shoot him down like the mangy scoundrel he is. Misfire. Kill us, bitch.
It's delicious dialogue. And interestingly, when I was looking through the script, most of that had been rewritten when they got closer to shooting. So it's not in that original draft. So it's amazing
I didn't realize that.
How, as you know, the saying goes, God is in the details.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always those little things. But yeah, it ends with that great line where it's like, I'll see you in hell. Clint has got the shotgun or the rifle aimed at Gene Hackman. He's like, yeah. And he blows him away. But I love that film. One of Clint Eastwood's best.
Any man don't want to get killed. Better clear on out the back.
You know, if you're talking about anti-heroes, you've got the Dollar Trilogy and stuff like that. But I love that film because of how rich the ensemble is, the great supporting characters. You have people chewing the scenery and twisting of power struggles and power dynamics within scenes of who's got the upper hand and who's playing who and who is really on the straight and narrow here. But yeah, that final showdown where he comes up against him, and it's the guy that never gets to enjoy the sunset. He has to walk off into the cold, having fulfilled his purpose of being the bad guy that people need in a terrible situation. So my pick is the final showdown in Unforgiven.
I don't deserve this. To die like this. I was building a house. Deserves got nothing to do with it. I'll see you in hell, William Money. Yeah.
Brilliant film and brilliant pick. And the script stayed in a drawer for a long time. And one of the titles, because I had several titles, one of the titles was The Cut Whore Killings. The Cut Whore Killings.
That's right. Yeah.
The Cut Whore Killings. And he's, when it first appeared on Eastwood's desk, his development person, lady at the time, she read it and she said, this is one of the most despicable pieces of trash I've ever read in my entire life. You should never go near it. It should be burned. It should be destroyed and wiped off the face of the earth. And so Eastwood actually avoided the film or didn't read the script for a number of years until it came back around to him again. And so the title of Unforgiven came along pretty much
late in the day. It was originally called The William Money Killings.
Yeah, the William Money. It had a couple of different titles. Brilliant film. Really fucking great film. So many amazing scenes. Oh, I want to watch it now, actually. I just want to watch it again. Fantastic stuff.
I refamiliarized myself with the scene just before we came on, and it not only made me want to go back and rewatch the film, it made me want to write a fucking Western. It made me want to write... Because the juicy thing about anti-heroes is they get to say the things that you can't say.
God, you fucker.
So you get to live vicariously. Enjoyable bastards.
Yeah.
And that's my role on the podcast, and that's what I want to write.
You're the anti-hero of this podcast. Well, my pick comes from a film which I don't think I've, maybe I brought it up once in a podcast before, but it's definitely not come up in any of our episodes. So I was kind of so glad to bring it up.
Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Lord of the Rings. I'm glad to bring it up because it's a film I absolutely fucking love. And it has a brilliant anti-hero as the central protagonist. And it's a film that I played when I had a very, very brief stint running a movie club up in Legany, which is up in the hills of Donegal. This was the final film I ran in my opening and only season of the film club.
Oh, I'm getting a sense memory here that I think I might know what this is. Keep going.
It went down like gangbusters. Everyone loved this. Absolutely. It is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest from 1975, directed by Milos Forman.
Why do you think they might think that?
Don't make a bit of sense to me.
Do you think there's anything wrong with your mind, really?
Jesus, I mean, you guys do nothing but complain about how you can't stand it in this place here, and then you haven't got the guts just to walk out? I mean, what do you think you are, for Christ's sake, crazy or something? Well, you're not.
Jack Nicholson is the anti-hero in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He's not nuts. He's in there for his own self-interest. He's pretending to be insane so that he can serve out his sentence in a mental hospital. And he becomes basically the rebel against the authoritarian rule of the head nurse.
Nurse Ratchet, Academy Award winner.
He's absolutely an anti-hero. And what was quite shocking is when he's having his interview, as he's been admitted to the hospital, he's been interviewed by the director of the hospital, and they talk about his conviction. And he's convicted of raping a young woman. An underage girl, or at least having sex with her. I don't know if it was rape, but having sex with her.
I think that counts as rape.
There we go. And that is something that probably in 1975 no one batted an eyelid about. But when I watched this, 15 years ago, I went, "Oh my god, that's a big speed bump."
It's like Steve Buscemi and Con Air, where they make him into the adorable, quirky character, and he's actually a paedophile.
There you go. But Randall McMurphy is absolutely an anti-hero because he's out for his own self-interest throughout the story. However, kind of like what you were saying with other anti-heroes, in other films, he has an even more villainous figure who is looming over this entire world, which in the form of Nurse Ratchet, who is cold and clinical and manipulative.
And she's female.
She's such a woman.
A woman?
He is in there shaking the system down wherever he can. He's stirring things up. He is so entertaining to be with because just his personality, he's very, very charming. He's humorous. He's a bit of a rascal, a bit of a rogue.
He's a class clown.
He's a bit... He's like me
in the Northman.
Exactly.
I was whipping up rebels against Boo Boo.
Rebels against Boo Boo.
I was our English teacher. No.
Oh, very good. Weren't we all? I think that movement spread to all secondary schools across Cork. We all rose up against Boo Boo.
Cork.
But Randall McMurphy's character is an agent of huge change in this world. He is very, very complex. He's also just a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun to be with. And the scene, there's so many great scenes in that film, but the scene I absolutely adore is a scene where they have this regular meeting with Nurse Ratched where she gets them to talk about or tries to have this group therapy session together, which bores the tits off of McMurphy. But on this one particular day, the World Series is happening, and he wants to watch the World Series on the TV that never gets switched on. And it becomes this battle between the two of them. And she's like saying, well, listen, if you can get enough votes from the patients to to turn on the TV, we'll turn on the TV.
All right, all I need is one vote, right? Right? All right. Okay. Want to watch the World Series? Come on in, pal. This could be a big moment for you. Now, you want to watch a baseball game? You want to watch baseball? Just raise that hand up. Just raise the hand up. What do you say? Sorry. Bancini, old horse. What do you say? You want to watch the ball game on TV? Huh? Want to watch the ball game? Baseball? World Series? What do you say, pal? You tired? Just raise your hand up, Bancini. Watch the ball game, huh? Okay, all right. What about you, pal? All we need is one vote. Just one vote. Just your one vote. That's all we need. Just raise your hand up and your buddies can watch the baseball game.
Randall McMurphy coercing all these mental patients to put their hand up, and it's such a fun fucking scene of him going from one person to the next person to a catatonic person who's just staring out the windows. Just put your hand up, just put your hand up. And he finally gets them all to put their hand up, except for the big Indian who's just like the last guy standing, and he fucking can't get him to put his hand up. And Nurse Ratched quietly relishes the fact that, well, diplomacy speaks. We won't be watching the World Series. And what this fucking McMurphy stews and simmers and just boils over. And what does he do? He invents his own World Series game.
Koufax kicks. He delivers. It's up the middle. It's a base hit. Richardson is rounding first. He's going for second. The ball's in the deep right center. Davison over in the gutter, cut the ball off. Here comes the throw. Richardson rounding first. He goes into second. He slides. He's in there. He's safe. It's a double. He's in there. Martini, look at Richardson. He's on second base. Koufax is in big fucking trouble. Big trouble, baby. All right. Here's Tresh as the next batter. Tresh looks in. Koufax gets the signs from Roseboro. He kicks once, he pumps, he fires. It's a strike. Koufax's curveball is snapping off like a fucking firecracker. All right, here he comes for the next pitch. Tresh swings. It's a long fly ball, and he
fucking gets them all risen on their feet, and just everyone goes fucking mental enjoying this imaginary game of World Series that McMurphy's making up on the fly. And of course it ends up in disaster. But in its own moment, you enjoy being the naughty boy. You enjoy being the bad kid, doing bad things, going against the teacher. And it's a delight.
Brilliant pick.
It's a great film. If you haven't watched it, do yourself a favour. It's classic.
I need to go back and watch it.
It's so good. It holds up so well.
That'll do. We did it. We got anti-heroes in the bag. Yes.
Well, that's it, Kevin. That's this topic wrapped up.
That's it. And right, I guess, do you want to spin the wheel for me?
Here we go. Spinning the wheel. God, it's gotten rusty.
Heavy. We just spun it last week.
Your topic for next time is best flashback scene.
It's interesting because there was only 3 options in the wheel, so I was wondering which one of them was going to come up. But the gasp that I gusped, oh my God, best flashback. I'm looking forward to that. That should be relatively easy to do. And interesting.
Often the esoteric titles are our most entertaining episodes.
For us.
If you're,
not for everyone else.
I think the episodes actually usually end up, just weird little topics end up the most fun.
I'm going to jinx us. I think we've never done a bad episode. We might have had some bad moments on episodes, but we've never done a bad episode. I think that we are.
Except for this one.
I know this is going to be an awful one. Wait till I get through it. But that's why we're the best podcast in the fucking world.
Sure.
Okie dokie. Listen, we're now going to do a mini bits, which is our Patreon podcast, third plug. And I think we might talk about an anti-hero on that, meaning we just watched, well, I watched Deadpool and Wolverine. So we may as well talk about that. But for now, Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a patron. If you want to give us a topic, write in. Go to bestbitspodcast.com/contact. You can pick a topic for us. You can save us having to cheat the wheel and get easy topics for ourselves. You can also become a patron, and you can also write a review for us if you enjoy listening to this podcast. But for now, say goodbye, Will.
Goodbye, Will.
The Best Bits podcast is produced by Will and Kevin. All audio clips and music heard in this episode is the intellectual property of the respective copyright holders, and no infringement is intended.
If you enjoyed this episode, please consider becoming a Patreon member, where you'll receive bonus shows where we talk about recent releases and what we're up to.
And you'll receive access to our Discord chat room where we hang out with our listeners.
Search the Best Bits podcast on Patreon or click on the link in the show notes.
And here is a clip from the lads' latest Mini Bits bonus show. The full episode, plus 100 more, are available on their Patreon.
Mini Bits. Kevin and Will. Hot Cock and the Cum. Yeah! Patreon.
For a minimum of €3. What up, bargain?
2 fun guys on the mic, talking shy. Yeah, that's right. 2 fun guys on the mic. 2 fun guys on the mic. The Best Bits Podcast. The Best Bits Podcast. Forget about all the things they like.
People think I'm mad.
2 fun guys on the mic.
Kevin, how are you?
Very well. How are you? Well, actually, I'm fucking roasted.
We're having 2 very different climates.
It's a heat wave here. They're getting really crap at predicting the weather, because you look on the weather app and it will say thunderstorms midweek, and then you get to the midweek and it is like 30 degrees and it's scorching. And they predicted earlier in the month that we were going to have the wettest summer on record. It was going to be 50 days straight of rain. That never happened.
Right.
It's just very topsy-turvy. It's like, it's either an absolute scalding heat wave or it's winter. It just keeps flitting between the two. It's very strange.
Okay. That is strange. And for me right now in Donegal, my app on my, even though it doesn't feel like this, it feels much warmer. It currently says that the temperature is 13 degrees.
My God, that's
30,
winter. That's proper
30.
winter.
No, but it's actually not. I've got the window open and I could have a fan on. It's quite.
It's
relatively
13
humid.
going on 30.
Exactly.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Orange.
Oh God. Like, I could get my kids up and they'll finish. Okay, Orange who?
Aren't you glad that cunt's going to lose the election? I am loving the energy coming off the Kamala pick. It really is so energizing, and we got rid of the Tories in the UK, and it feels like we've turned a corner, and it's so fucking welcome to see.
I fucking hope so. Do you know, just for our listeners, you all know the origin of the word Tory, or why the Tories are called Tories. Do you know this one?
I know, but you tell them.
I'll tell you. So, for all, we've got a lot of English listeners. The Tory.
And we love you guys.
England is fucking great, and they're all great.
Yes. We adore our English listeners. Absolutely adore them. But the origin of the word Tory comes from the Irish word Tára, which means outlaw or robber. Tára. And so the Tories.
Kind of an apt name, to be honest.
Yeah, the Tories call themselves robbers or outlaws. So there you go. That's a little bit of...
Have you been watching any of the Olympics?
Yeah, every night. Let's say it'll be on. We've got we've got a couple of Irish medals already.
I was crying watching the Irish guy win. I just...
whiffing.
Yeah, it was... What gets me right is the family in the audience. Whenever they cut to the family screaming them on, it's like, that's what gets me. And he's got a twin brother, Whiffen, who looks identical to him.
You want to know my prediction?
I wonder if he can
That's going to be the next scandal. it'll turn out that they swapped out halfway through the race.
That'd be hilarious. You do the heats and I'll do the final.
Or he was like halfway through the race, he was hidden in a little secret hatch at the bottom of the pool, and he just emerged. So it was a switcheroo, it was a bait and switch.
We're doing quite well, though. We just won some more medals today. So.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, very good. And there's my neighbour is in the Olympics, Shane Sweetnam.
Really?
Sweetman. No, it's Sweetman. Yeah, he's been in the Olympics a couple of times for show jumping.
Oh,
he's
down in Cork.
Irish team.
Yeah. We talked about this.
Not my neighbour in Donegal, my neighbour in Cork. So Shane, I knew Shane as a kid. We I have loads of stories.
And he's still an Olympian in his 50s.
Well, he's actually younger than me, maybe by about 2 years. But he's in show jumping. You can kind of go on, even though you might be,
because the horse is the one winning the medal.
Yeah, the horse is the
They should actually put the gold medal around the neck of the horse. They should ignore the rider and put the gold medal around the horse's neck.
Yeah. So there was actually 3 Olympians. In the previous Olympics, we had there was an Irish runner, and she was from the same parish as us as well. So there was 3, anyway,
we are killing it, especially as well with the European Championships, with the runners as well. So this is fantastic. We have come on in leaps and bounds.
Yeah. We like to see ourselves winning. It's
all we had
stuff.
to do was give up the drink and give up. That's what did Michelle in all the whiskey. Anyway, when we get into it, we saw a few things, and
we did.
That's what we like to talk about on these episodes. If you're not a patron, come on, jump on board. As the theme tune goes, it's only like €3. And
have a good time.
Have a good time.
Many bits.